All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Tellor Core Chat, June 9th, 2020.
Back in the office.
Back in the office for the first time. We are...
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
6 feet between me and Nick, I
Yes.
promise.
No, so it's exciting. We're finally, our state allowed non-essential businesses to go back, so we're non-essential, unfortunately. So we're back in the office, and we can start doing these calls and getting some work cranked out. Some brief announcements. Still just starting Tellor V2 testing, getting some quotes on audits. Yeah, really kicking that into high gear, which is fun. Solidity work. And then we're also, if you are a miner, you should know we are upgrading. We call it a hard fork, but basically some of the PSR, the request IDs are changing. So make sure you pay attention to that. Basically, all you guys have to do is go read the release for Tellor V3. If you're using the Tellor miner, just read it and update like 2 files and you should be good to go. But if you have built some sort of custom miner or some fancy rig that isn't using our miner, make sure you go look at that and upgrade so you don't get slashed. Right now, the switchover is going to happen June 29th. So you guys have a while. Reach out to me with any questions, concerns. You know, we can obviously push it back if need be, but let's just, 2.5 weeks is plenty for, it's not that many changes if you're just looking at what we did. So that's kind of the big things we've been working on over the past week. Mike also dropped an article this past week. So that was, what was the title of the article?
I don't recall. What is an Oracle in DeFi and why does it matter?
Yeah, it's a nice little readable piece. We had been getting some requests from people for some more chewable material. So it's a nice, easy read. You can pass around. If somebody needs to just learn about Tellor or why it's important, it's a nice read. Next one, I'm working on another article on settlement prices for DeFi. That one is not going to be as easy or fun. So you guys can...
Yeah, Nick does not write chewable articles.
Yeah, so we're going to write that one, and then you guys can... Hopefully you guys will enjoy that one.
Your articles definitely give cavities.
Yeah. So anyway, that's about it. But the big reason we're excited about today, besides all of your questions, which we have a bunch, we have Ben and Sam here. So
from Raid Guild.
So little brief thing. So as you guys know, so we had Tellor Scan originally back in the day. We had built, it was kind of the front end for interacting with Tellor. Mike Kuhn, who some of you guys remember, he built that for us, and then he started doing his own thing more. And we basically didn't maintain Tellor Scan, and it was this gigantic piece of code that was it was great, but it was just unwieldy for us. And we had some features that we really wanted. We wanted people to be able to see Tellor working. We wanted people to be able to see the prices, go dispute different bad prices, and have an easy way to do that. So through some friends we met, and we got in contact with the Raid Guild, which Ben and Sam are part of. So you guys want to give a brief intro about yourselves? And I don't know which one of you wants to tell us a little bit about the Raid Guild.
Well, I mean, we both can. Raid Guild is a DAO, so we're all members. Do I have share screen?
You should.
Let me check.
Ooh. Yeah, Raid Guild's kind of a DAO, but it's a collective of developers and product, all like different product people, from designers to developers to
content creators,
whatever needed to build products, all working together on these kind of Web3.
And they also worship the devil, it looks like.
Actually, we slay demons. That's our job. So
I see.
When Tellor has product demons that they need slayed, they can call on the Raid Guilds, and we team up in raids, just little raid parties of small working groups who go and tackle that. Basically, we joke around about calling those like epic boss battles. So we just kind of like join up and go and tackle these projects. So And yeah, it's really just to Sam's point, it's really just a registry of like everybody who's needed to do all these different things. So like there are a lot of developers, a lot of designers, illustrators, community people, you know, more business development people, marketing. Just like it's not just development. We're not in a developer only ecosystem anymore. So like yeah, it's really just like a big group of people who can collaborate together. It's not like an agency or anything per se, but we're all like a very like how do you say, like tightly aligned but loosely coupled or whatever. You know, we're all like aligned on this, like on driving Web3 forward as a DAO, and we all yeah, that's our main goal. But then off of that, we just split up into all these different little raid parties whenever someone either comes up with an idea in the guild, or someone like Tellor brings an idea to the guild or something that they need. So yeah, and this was like a really, so this, what Nick was talking about, like doing the like the dispute center. So this was like a raid that we just completed. Yeah, so it's just like a minimized version of like the previous Tellor scan. You know, stripped down for maintainability and usability, kind of like those two main points were like the two main goals. You know, simplify the user experience as well as like the developer experience on updating it and adding new features or things over time. So it's a little bit, and Sam can talk more about like the technical things that we did, like, you know, taking all the data and caching it into like a subgraph so that we can like retrieve that data a lot quicker, you know, which provides a better user experience for miners here, like through disputes. Well, I can give like a quick tour, I guess, but yeah, like, so we have like the homepage is just like starts with like just a current mining event, which you can see the values that are mined. You can see that it's still mining, and then once it finishes, then it'll land in here and the recent mining events as completed, which those can be disputed with some TRB. If it has been disputed, then let's see, do we have any disputes? You can go to disputes and we see like an open disputes.
No open disputes right now.
Yeah, no open disputes right now, but promise you can vote when there is an open dispute going. But yeah, you can view all mining events, all disputes, and the homepage is just kind of like more about like the current activity, about like what is being mined, and then showing the recent mining events. And then while we were at it, we also did the same thing to the price viewer, basically, or the data feed, which is called currently. I need to connect. And this one is not on the graph. It's not using subgraph yet, so it's a little bit slower, but then it has all the price updates of all the different prices. You could add tips. But yeah, very simple. Try to keep it very, very simple on the code level and on the usability side in general, while also making it like this kind of nice, you know, dark theme for now, but we're kind of talking about like maybe doing like a light mode switcher going forward. Yeah, just trying to make like a nice, enjoyable experience throughout also.
Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff you're probably used to from Tellor Scan, but we've kind of broken it up into two little micro apps right now that are just nice and small and easy to maintain. The other kind of cool, like behind the scenes thing, is this subgraph we built here. And will you go to this link? I don't know, any developers out there, front-end developers that are wanting to kind of build anything off of Tellor data. This is a really cool thing you can use using GraphQL. It basically caches a bunch of the events that the Tellor contract emits. So every time a new request is added or anything, any like new value, that's the mining events, any miner value underneath any new challenge, and disputes and votes. So it gives you a nice, easy, quick way to kind of query all that data and build nice, dynamic, performant front ends off of that. And this is open, hosted in the graph, and anybody can hit it and query this stuff.
Super cool, guys. So yeah, you know, these are the two things that we had them build to properly introduce them. There's the Tellor price viewer, and then there's the Tellor dispute center. The price viewer is just a basic thing, so you can see right now we have 50 different prices that you can go and query from the Tellor smart contract system. And here you can see what they all are, and you can go and request that they get updated if you want that in your smart contract. And it's a nice, easy way to do that. Another thing with the dispute center, you can just basically see all of the different events. You can see, as you know, whenever five values are submitted, they're all mined, and then you can see how they compare to each other and whether or not you want to dispute something. So if somebody submits 0 for the Bitcoin price, you can dispute them. Pretty simple stuff, but they're nice tools that we finally have.
Well, before this, how would someone go about doing any of these things?
Yeah, like after Tellorscan broke, before, the way that you would have had to do this was like through Etherscan, and people were, either through Etherscan, or a lot of people just had kind of, custom tools built. So like you would have basically just scripts running on your computer to check for disputes and how they compare to the actual prices. And that's, you obviously want it to be more user friendly. And that's what we think this does. So hopefully, it can help actual Tellor users really just see how it works and just give them the ability to do it. So, and we're gonna make sure that we maintain these and that this works out. So yeah, guys, it looks like awesome work. Thank you for that, first of all. How was, I guess the first question, how was working with Tellor? Was it really awful to understand, Sam?
So awful.
No, it was really fun, and that was one of the good parts about writing the subgraph is you have to kind of dive into the contract and understand the events and understand what's going on. And it didn't take me too long. And I'm not really a Solidity pro either, so nice work, Nick, on the
Cool comments.
Fishing
Yes.
for compliments.
We were able to get in there pretty quickly, I think, and kind of really understand what's going on. And we, were able to churn this out in just a few weeks. So
yeah, it was quick.
Yeah.
It was good.
And that speaks to like your system. It's
So yeah, so hopefully, I think where we can go from here, for anyone watching this, we'd love to know where you guys want to take this, and what other user tools can sort of be necessary.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things. Like I'm sure you guys. Now we'll get into a little bit more discussion talk. That's probably like the big downfall of probably most systems now. It's almost user interaction. You have a whole bunch of token holders, and then nobody votes on anything, and nobody actually interacts with your system or sees how it works on a daily basis. So I guess, yeah, I'm just gonna start asking questions about DAOs, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, can talk forever about DAOs.
Well, I mean, how are you guys? So like the idea of Raid Guild, how is it different than like MakerDAO? Like the original vision of MakerDAO was sort of similar, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a good question.
Thank
I wonder
you.
what the short answer would be. MakerDAO is meant to be very autonomous. The humans vote on certain things, but very small things, and like one or two like main functions of the protocol, I guess, right? Whereas like Raid Guild is like literally just a collective of people, of humans that are working together. There is a lot of automation going on because it's a decentralized community. So there's like a lot of, we're all over the world, different time zones. So there's like a different level of coordination needed. But we're all a bunch of devs and designers. So we just like kind of build that tooling as we go to like help the community coordinate better and better and whatever. So, but I don't know. I think they're very different. It's hard to even find like a thing that's the same, I guess, or like a.
Yeah, I guess, is there any part of Raid Guild that's on chain?
Oh yeah, certainly. Oh yeah, here can I still share?
Like what you guys
you guys familiar with Moloch DAOs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Moloch clone.
Okay.
Or fork. So
well, yeah, it just uses the same contracts.
Yeah, the Moloch contract is the Moloch V2. And so basically our bank account is all on chain.
Yeah, so when someone joins the guild, basically you put up an ETH and you request 10 shares, and then if which you don't just buy your way in, like the community, everybody literally votes on a member proposal. Let's see if we have one coming in. Yeah,
so was Tellor a proposal?
Tellor did not. Okay, so the way that the Tellor raid interacts is cool too. So what happens when we do a raid is like we form a raid party. So in this case, it was like me, Yaler, and Sam. That was all that was needed for the, like, you know, every little raid party is as small and efficient as it possibly can be, right? For like whatever. So, and then that raid just has like its own little multi-sig it's, you know, like, so when you guys like pay an invoice, it goes to that multi-sig, which is controlled by just those people working on that project. And then they just split up their own contributions and rewards based on that, based on what they do through that raid. And then at the end of it, then everybody has the option to go back and put 10% of that, 10 or 20%, up to 20% back into the DAO and request more shares. So in that way, you get, you know, so some of the, how much ETH do we have in here right now? We only have like, oops, sorry.
So it's almost like a
48.
tax going back into the DAO, plus we get more you get more shares individually in the DAO, which gives you
Which is
more.
basically reputation, right? Like you're doing raids, you're doing stuff, you're putting more money back in the bank for the community. So like that's like your reputation in the raid guild is based like how many shares you have.
Is there a minimum to pay back to the raid, back to the DAO?
After you do a raid, we recommend 10 to 20% of what you earned in that raid.
But yeah, but that's totally your right to do whatever there. But you do have the opportunity, because you are a member of the DAO and you have completed a raid, it's pretty soft consensus in the DAO to allow you to get more shares for more ETH, right? So like, but you don't have to do that, but so far everybody has, because everybody knows it's like so far in the guild, it's anytime you put any money into the bank, it goes to everybody, right? So it just means that the community has more to use to build itself and to support itself. So we have like, you know, whatever, like 50 ETH in here right now, which is not that much, but that's just from people joining and completing raids and things. And 50, it's more than zero. So now we have like this community bank that is the DAO, and then we can't spend any of that without submitting it through a proposal, which everybody has a vote on, right? Everybody has shares, and everybody goes and can vote on those proposals. So everybody has a voice over how every penny gets spent basically in the DAO.
Have either of you two ever submitted a proposal to spend some of the DAO's funds?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is spent on like, I mean, there are some like different, like, you know, things that need to be built for the ecosystem. One of the more powerful ones was like this thing called Minion, which allows like Moloch DAOs to perform arbitrary contract functions on any other contract. So you can like submit a proposal to the DAO to like, you know, join another DAO even, or anything basically. So like you can call in any other contract and any other function, and then like perform it, execute it only if the DAO votes like to
for instance, we could submit a proposal with the Minion to dispute a Tellor miner value.
Right.
And then
yeah.
everybody in the DAO could vote on that, and if it passed, it would dispute it. If it didn't pass, it wouldn't dispute.
Right. So that was like a really, really important need for the community in general, for the greater DAO ecosystem, like for DAOs to continue down the road of like more and more decentralized activities, right? Like that was a huge one. So like we submitted a proposal for that, but a lot of it's like internal funding. So like some of them are like that, like external projects, but they're like internally generated. But then a lot of it is just like, you know, anybody who betters anything, like contributes to the website or provides better documentation to help raiders like collect and like self-organize and perform raids, like any of that kind of stuff is like highly, highly valuable to the community. So we just submit proposals for that. And some people do like recurring work, especially the community folks who are like, you know, making sure that people find their way, can find their way into raids, or like help build new raid parties or whatever, to keep them incentivized and to keep them like engaging the community. We also do like proposals to them too. So
yeah.
So can you, just like Moloch, can you rage quit and take, you know, so you could take your 16% of that ether and walk away?
Yeah, totally. But why would I do that when I can do so much more with all of us, right? So like that's kind of like the game theory that's played out. Like it's always, rage quit was a really interesting, yeah, it's still really interesting, and we're still like seeing where that will go, because it is like your full rights, like to whatever your proportional, like your shares equal exactly proportional control over the assets of the DAO, whatever they are. Like in our case, it is like we're just holding ETH right now, but we're starting to whitelist some personal tokens of some guild members, for example.
Or
so like
TRB could be
white
possibly.
TRB.
you said you were going to give us some TRB. Yeah, give us some TRB. We'll put it in for sure.
Hell yeah.
So then when anybody rage quits, they get all of these. They get a proportional percentage of all of these things, right? So like that'll be like a really interesting thing that goes forward. But yeah, totally. That's totally the point. That's the coordination cost thing. Where like, yeah, put your ETH in the DAO, join it. And if you don't like what's happening, leave before a penny of it gets spent. Basically, like if you come in and leave immediately, like before a proposal goes through, then like you get your full share back, right?
Yeah.
So lowering that coordination cost for people just to like collaborate together is a really, really big deal. So, but people don't really rage quit because they're like, oh, this is great. This is a really fun thing. And now look what we can do together. Like I put in $1,000, but now I have $10,000 collectively to spend on building community things, you know? So
Something that was added with the V2 as well is guild kick. So that's like, you can put a
Yeah.
proposal in to kick another member and all their shares. So that's another interesting feature, but it hasn't been done at all in the Moloch ecosystem yet.
yeah, not yet, but it's bound to happen, right? At some point. So somebody's got to like do some malicious activity at some point in time. But so far, it's just been a lot of people collaborating and cooperating for the common goal.
Well, I mean,
of
that
the
would have
DAO,
been,
so.
you know, like, because it's interesting, because from what I've read about, you know, the initial visions of like a MakerDAO, like it was similar where they had a token where they would use it to pay members to build different things, and they would come with proposals, and DAI was kind of just one of the original proposals for, you know, it became kind of the main one. And then if you saw like recently, even as recently as like last year, they had some early members quit MakerDAO, like the founding members. And, you know, of course, like now they just sort of quit and they had like their whatever MKR tokens they managed to get. But if it was like an actual DAO like this and they like rage quitted or something, it would have been like a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have been. So yeah, that I think it could be, you know, it's one of these things. Like, do you guys? Why, I guess, didn't you get? Are you guys planning on doing a token with this, or just kind of personal tokens? You know, what do you think could be like? This was always the original idea with, you know, whenever you had all these different projects creating their own tokens, is you would create these little mini ecosystems that would all sort of, you know, you could have like a different monetary policy associated with it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys plan on doing something like that, or for now it's just going to be this?
Yeah, I mean, there's many, many different conversations going on in the guild around those types of ideas. You know, I think the two main forks in the discussion right now are, you know, should we just have our own guild coin basically that is like that, like maybe equates to like a DAO share or something, and therefore is a you know, like a basket of well, do we have our own token, or do we just have DAO shares only that is like a basket of all the tokens that are in the DAO, basically? So like, I feel like those are like the two forks right now that are under discussion. But there's a lot of activity on that point because, well, yeah, for the reasons that you said, also just for like usability and things. It's just, yeah, like if someone can just like buy up some guild coins now, and then, you know, over time, like a market is like doing price discovery on that, then like, you know, there are some interesting things that could happen. So it's kind of like just kind of looking through the potential use cases and figuring out which one works best for like our particular community of folks like working together. So, but certainly a path forward there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just come down to like, what do you guys think is the best way to, yeah, what do you guys see as the ultimate vision for it? You know, do you guys, how big can raid guilds get, or would you expect there to be like multiple raid guilds, or everybody slowly comes and gets underneath one raid guild?
Yeah, totally. I think from day one, like we were really small. We only launched this in like February, guys. So like, and it was like 8 or 10 people or something. And we were always, you know, very, very people who had already worked together and things. So it's like, so it was like a, you know, there was high trust at the beginning. But now it's like, you know, there's like 50 of us here. So like so trust has gone down a little bit just because of dilution of like, you know, more people coming into the community or whatever. So we're navigating that scalability kind of issue right now, but the purpose I think is probably more important. And like from us, like our design philosophy as a guild is just to do our thing right now. I mean, like we're one of the first ones going into this depth of this decentralized coordination and in this like category of work and service offering DAO of, you know, but so at the same time, we're trying to like tighten up all of our things so that anybody else can fork us or like use us at least as a reference point to help them get bootstrapped a little bit and then do whatever else is different for their community. But absolutely, you know, like, yeah, there should just be a ton of guilds. You know, there's like LexDAO is a really cool one on the legal side. We're collaborating with them a lot. And then like these guilds can work together. And then all of a sudden you have like this enormous ecosystem of like decentralized communities that are like incredibly powerful. Like, you know, when you start out, I think the big point of a DAO is when you start, you're distributing power immediately. Like nobody's holding power and accumulating power. Like your whole goal as a DAO basically is just to like distribute as much power as possible to everybody around you and to just empower everybody to like do things. And then over time, like the determinism of that is just like incredible. Like everybody's empowered and then they can go and empower more and more people and so on and so forth. So like they should absolutely just be like doing guilds all over the place. We're trying, that's why our documentation is so important and why we like spend some of our funds on that so that other people can like look at that and try to like, you know, do something similar for their purpose.
Tellor guild.
But for now, we're kind of a little bit more open than we thought we would be about membership because there is a lot of interest in people like looking to experiment in this kind of participation model. You know? So, and we don't want to turn them away. So, I mean, we do if we don't think they're like us, we have to like maintain our own like tight alignment in the guild, like make sure that everybody who comes in is aligned with our purpose. But aside from that, we've been a little bit more lenient on it recently, just because it's, you know, we'll figure. I mean, it'll just figure itself out. That's like the decentralized way, basically. Like if the community has the power all the time, then you can't make a wrong decision, in my opinion, because it's just like if everybody has the power, then who's to blame, right? It's just like.
So are there projects you guys won't do?
Yeah, we've said no to projects in the past. Sometimes because we didn't have the capacity. Like it's pretty important for us to, one of the experiments is, can we create this decentralized thing that can produce work as good as like a normal old agency company? So
or better.
We don't want to like just take something on because it's money and then not do a good job of it. So we've said no in those instances. We're not doing any Web 2 work, obviously. We would say no to that. But like as far as like a type of project, not really.
No, but what, I mean, would you guys say no to like Lockheed Martin wants you guys to make like a military coin for killing terrorists or something?
I'd say no.
You would say no?
Yeah, I mean, guilders are totally sovereign and they can jump on anything that they want to, but I feel like they would have a very hard time getting anybody else to build with them, basically.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, that's like, you know, like that's obviously an extreme example, but, you know, there's obviously like a whole lot of shitcoin projects out there, and there's a whole lot of
like, this might be a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, you know, like projects,
definitely.
You know, I'm just wondering how selective you guys are planning on being, or, you know, especially, I would assume that would actually be if you do grow in size and are taking on more and more projects, probably the counterpoint, like kind of like you saw in 2017 with all of the auditing firms and everything like that, it's like, you know, the people who were paying big money were all the scams, or all
totally.
You know, VC coins and everything like that. So yeah, how do you guys feel about that philosophically moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think we're a little different also. I mean, so many of us also have our own projects and our founders elsewhere and things also. So like in the interactions that we have in the guild, I mean, it's super variable. Like some people are full-time, some people are like super part-time, and some people are just there as like an advisor or like support, or they're just like in the calls because they care about the thing or whatever. Shit, I've lost my point actually.
But I guess one point is that it's not just all faceless on-chain activity. Like projects are always discussed in our weekly calls and through Discord and stuff like that. So I think there would be some pretty strong social signaling against something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not something we've had to deal with yet. So
hopefully.
Great question.
Well, on a lighter note.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to change subjects.
Well, yeah, just a quick one. I think like what's the quick, I mean, like in general, we're just trying to build Web3 ecosystem. That's like in general our purpose. So like whether or not it's our own funds and our own ideas that are things needed for the ecosystem, or if someone else like Tellor is building an awesome decentralized Oracle that is needed for the ecosystem, those are things that are very, very high signal in the guild. And like when those needs come around, everybody like jumps on it because it's like the thing that we're looking to build. So if someone brings in a thing that's like an NDA secret project that's a fork of this to make money off of this kind of thing or whatever, it's like that's going to be very, very low signal in the guild, I would assume. And they have been typically, like pyramid schemes and things. And I mean, we get a lot of crazy requests too. So like that one was like, can you guys build a Chinese super rare for like 100K or something? We're like, what's going on right now? But yeah, we get some weird requests. But,
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I guess my question is more, you know, for somebody out there thinking or just hearing about this and it sounds interesting to them and they're thinking about joining the guild. What is that like for somebody who's joining new? And, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, is this something that a freelancer can just do? Is it somebody that can quit their agency job and jump right in and be making good money? Like, what is it like for a new guy joining and finding work?
Yeah, there's multiple different paths, I guess. The first fork is interested in joining the guild. Like there's a fork where you can either like submit ETH and it request 10 shares and submit like whatever like tribute of work that you're putting with, like what are you going to contribute to the guild. That's like one path, which is quicker. And then there's another path which we're kind of like experimenting with, this apprentice program, where if you don't have ETH or whatever already, then you can like, but you do have skills that are valuable that can help us build things for the ecosystem. Then you can get signal through that way, and then we'll give you like 1 DAO share to start, just so you can, and then you can keep working and earning DAO shares basically over time until you do become a complete guild member. So, and as far as like jumping in and going full time, I mean, if you're a badass and like, fully confident and like you can like run with projects and self-initiate, and I mean, like, yeah, you could probably get in and like just collect work and like, or signal that you want to do work and then do it and complete it, but if you're like learning, then it's probably more through the apprentice program, and then you're going to like rise up, everybody's going to be around you to like help you do all the things, so you'll probably learn really, really quick and get to that stage of where you are a badass and you can just self-initiate and destroy different things. But
So do you just get picked as an apprentice? Like if I was your apprentice, you would just bring me on to this Tellor project and I would get a small amount and learn the ropes. Like, when you get a job,
yeah,
part of
we
why you
usually do
go
like
work for a
internal
company is
projects.
because they do the sales for you. They find you the work. They take a big cut of it, but you have a security and you have a salary and those kind of things. Like, how does that work in terms of finding the clients, getting the work in? Is it all just sort of up to everybody else to produce that on their own?
Well, I guess there's like, hold on. Oh, am I still sharing this? I am. I mean, there's a ton of roles. I have like a screenshot of all. Oh, here they are. Yeah, totally. But so like another interesting part about the guild, I guess, like I'm a designer. That's what I do. And like I'm a full stack designer. I do branding, UX, UI, graphic design, also illustration, motion graphics. So I'm a full stack designer. So I can do a lot of things in the design world. And I like to do a lot of things in the design world, including front end code even. But some people like are only doing Solidity or whatever, or some people are like only doing front end or only doing content or whatever. So like you should be able to only do what you want to do and are good at, and then find someone else to do the things like what is it like project managers and all those types of things. Like we have all those different kinds of roles too. So you just kind of like you shouldn't have to do things that you're not good at and that you don't like to do. So typically like the purpose is just to team up with other people who are good at those things and like to do those things to like make sure that everything's like as good as it possibly can be, basically.
And as far as like finding projects and sales and stuff like that, it's really just been word of mouth so far. And like a project will come in, a person that runs sales or PM or whatever will pick it up and run that part of the project for us and gather a team and
Right. Yeah. There are just people who really care about that stuff and are really good about putting together like sales operation processes and things, even in the guild. Like there's like, so they just like, they work together and collaborate on processes that the guild can use to like source work, either like through grants or through clients or whatever.
Well, how did you get selected for when Tellor, the project, when Tellor came in? I wasn't there when you guys first initially talked, but like, how did you get selected for this versus another designer in the guild? Like, how does that process work?
I mean, I think we just signaled. Yeah, we just jumped on it.
He knew you guys, so he reached out.
Well, we saw it come in, so like basically, you can.
Oh yeah,
fill out
all
a
things are
form
open.
from our website, right?
What's that?
Did you fill out a form from our website, Nick, or did you?
Yeah, I filled out a form on your website. That was like after I was already talking with Tellor for a while, though.
Oh, okay.
All right. So yeah, all of those get dropped right into the Discord immediately. So anybody can just like signal that that's like a thing that they want to work on. And then like you collect all the people who signal, and then you try to form a team around what is needed for the project and scope it together, which this one was like pretty simple and straightforward. And Sam and I both jumped on it, and I'm full stack design and he's kind of full stack dev. So it was kind of like, we didn't really need anybody else for this particular raid. So that was it, basically. Just like, yeah.
There was no like duel that had to happen between you and another.
Right. Yeah. There's not.
It hasn't happened a
there's
ton.
no duels.
There
There will be duels.
Call it, I don't know, like Rochambeau.
Yeah, there could be a duel. I mean, it's just like I don't know. Yeah, it's like how much time do you have to devote to this project? Like, can you actually commit to this? You know, like there's a lot of like different variables, and like, does it fit with your timeline of what you're doing with? You know, there's like a lot of different variables on the individual level. So there's really hasn't been any duels yet. And we do try to have like redundancy in roles because we are like a global team and also you know, just decentralized in general. So it's like having redundancy and skill sets is really important, I think, from like, you know, having multiple designers, having multiple devs and multiple community people and multiple sales ops people and like all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, I think we've gone a while and we have a bunch of questions we got to get to. So you guys are going to help us answer some questions now.
Yes.
But
This is an AMA after all.
this is an AMA, so we'll see if we have any random questions from people that we can all answer. We try and keep it around an hour for the call.
So if you guys have 20 more minutes or so.
Yeah,
we're good.
All right, let's jump in. The first question is, hi, is Tellor able to work with non-blockchain companies? Thanks.
Technically, yes, but probably not. So Tellor, that's like one of those things like why, you know, to be honest, like Tellor is slow and on chain. Technically, somebody could be reading prices off of Tellor if you're not on chain, but you would probably just go read the APIs on your own. So
we bring off-chain data off-chain again.
Yes. Yeah. So you probably want to be a blockchain company.
Okay. This one's for Nick. Do you like the Mandalorian TV show?
I haven't really watched it. So.
What?
Shame this man.
I know.
Nick, what's your take on the Rise of Skywalker?
I haven't seen it.
No, he was really smart and refused to see it.
I've refused to see. I'm gonna watch it whenever I have like a weekend to watch it twice or something. And I have two pretty young kids, so I don't watch too much TV or movies.
Yeah.
So
he's got to wait till the Star Wars age.
Yes. Yeah.
But I told you last year, I was like, it's probably. I wish I'd never seen it. That's my take. I wish it didn't exist.
I agree, Mike. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because the first two I was pretty disappointed in. You know, I like them on a movie level, but then, so I was a big, you know, like, so like I read some of the books, you know, like the Timothy Zahn series and like what was actually supposed to happen after the Star Wars series. And then these movies come up and it's just like, oh man, they ruined it. Like, this isn't canon at all.
Yeah, Exactly.
So
I haven't read any of the books, but I've heard a lot about the canon from my friend who's obsessed with them, and I'm just like, that sounds great. Why don't we just
like
do that?
the Wrath of Khan series would have been just phenomenal, but then it's like obviously you don't have any younger heroes really. I mean, you have a little bit, but it's not.
It's true.
It's not as sexy of a movie. It's more nerdy. So.
And that goes into everything that's wrong with Hollywood right now. But we're going to digress. Next one is a question for all of us. We could probably add to this answer. Could rollups on Ethereum be enough for scaling, or is it just a cheap and reliable base layer? Wait, no. Or is a cheap and reliable base layer also essential?
Any thoughts you guys have on rollups and kind of scaling on Ethereum?
I mean, I love rollups. I think it's great, but I'm not an L2 specialist, so I shouldn't go into too much detail.
We're not L2 specialists either, but we speak off the cuff about any topic.
We talk about a lot of things that we're not specialists on.
Yeah, I think it has the most potential for sure. I mean, as a UX designer, that's most of like my thinking is through like usability and things, and like yeah, optimistic rollup is incredible. Yeah, it's really, but yeah, I think it will be a play between a couple different paths for sure that'll handle all the settlement layer and everything. But OBM is awesome.
Cool. Anything, Sam?
I'm not adding anything.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of gave my thoughts on rollups last week, but or 2 weeks ago, whenever we had the rollups thing on. Yeah, like I'm hopeful that they'll work, but at the same point, like there's been so many layer 2s throughout the years. I mean, when did the original Lightning paper come out? It was like 2015 or something, even before. Yeah, like, and just no layer 2 has really taken off. It's all still layer 1s, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's still layer 1s, and maybe it's a UX problem, maybe it's a security issue. I don't know, but it makes it really tough. There's been so many strategies proposed throughout the year, like we should we'll scale this finally through layer 2 payments or layer something, and it never has. So I'm not optimistic about optimistic rollups. Yeah, to say the least.
I mean, I agree. It seems like a step. It sounds like a half step or a stepping stone, if you will, to scaling enough for right now until layer 1 figures its stuff out. Okay. People seem to think that there's still only 2 Tellor devs. Can you correct them?
Oh, hell yeah, we can.
I've noticed at least 3 others committed to the code base.
Welcome, fellow Tellor devs.
There you go. 2 more right here. So
You got the whole power of the guild behind you too. So.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I think that's like I always like to look at it that way. Like ideally, like how many Tellor devs would there be? Like if we actually succeed as a project, like I'd actually say you have 0 Tellor devs. Like the entire thing is like open sourced, and like people are building on it because they have a project running on it, and like it's it kind of goes into Ethereum. Like if everything is funded by some central entity, like it's probably not going to last as a community. I think you want it to be, and that's actually why like we were originally thinking whenever we talked to you guys, like maybe we should just hire somebody. Like maybe we could hire, obviously you guys are 2 specific roles, so it was tough to find somebody with like, kind of a whole package. But it's like you want to hire people where they fit your philosophy and are really flexible, but you also want to make sure that you're spreading the work around the community with people. In my mind, like if you can get everybody in Raid Guild excited about Tellor, like that's so cool.
Yeah, it becomes like HR for us in a way. Like
yeah,
the pool of the community to pull from. Where they've already built the ecosystem for that. We don't have to worry about running that HR ourselves.
It almost becomes like dev evangelism a little bit too, because we're consulting on other projects elsewhere, and they're like, we need an Oracle solution, where we're like, hey, let's use this one. We have experience with it.
Yeah.
Well, once we get our TRB,
Right.
That's true. Get the TRB first.
We're gonna, yeah, you guys
Okay.
have to, yeah, we'll pay you guys in some
Secure the bag.
Yeah.
Next question. Would it be great if a query language was built into Ethereum nodes?
So Sam, you do a lot of stuff with GraphQL. I mean,
Yeah. I enjoy GraphQL, and like it sort of just extracts that away from making direct contract calls to any nodes and stuff, but it does it within the GraphQL like servers. So they'll just, so you write mappings from events or from blocks and stuff into entities that really make sense for your application. So I prefer that as opposed to some sort of query like SQL into, I wonder if he's done that, like SQL on top of Ethereum nodes. But
yeah, I think that's Dune.
oh yeah.
So yeah, so with Dune Analytics, they have a SQL, they have a thing where you can go write SQL queries for Ethereum.
All right.
So
Human readable data.
yeah, well, I think like, yeah, I mean, my thing, like this Thomas J. Rush, so he runs QuickBlocks, or
Oh yeah.
if you guys have heard of
QuickBlocks.
that, you know, he basically, like, his whole thing is like one of Ethereum's biggest problems is that they didn't index things by address, you know, and they should have just indexed everything by address whenever you can search for things. But yeah, I mean, we're finding workarounds, and I think there's just going to continue to be workarounds. Pretty soon you won't notice them.
Does the we've talked about this before. Does the crypto space feel big or small?
Guys?
Feels small to me.
Big and hard, small in people, I think, still.
Yeah, we say the same thing. It's tiny.
As far
Yeah.
as the big picture, I mean, it's right. Yeah, it's small in the big picture of things, but what is happening is very, very big. So.
Yeah, no, you stole the words out of my mouth. Like when you're in it, you feel like when you're at DevCon or just being involved in it, feels like something really big's happening. But the people in it, it's a small community. The ones that are actually doing any good work.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, all of crypto is worth like the size of like a mid-cap stock. It's like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
even, and I'd say it's crypto valuations are probably even grossly inflated from where the vast majority of them should be. So like, you know, it's just so tiny. And I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like, you know, we're an Oracle project. Like we rely on other projects to build on us. How many projects are there actually out there that need oracles on Ethereum? And it's not a shockingly large number at this moment. You know, it's in the 10s to 20s, like legit projects that need oracles on Ethereum. And obviously, like once you have an oracle that works and Ethereum takes off, like hopefully that number grows to, you know, hold trillions of dollars in assets. But at the moment, it's like, you know, you can call every one of those projects in a week. Like it's not gigantic. So yeah.
Cool. Next one is, does Chainlink have a lot of technical debt?
I'm guessing you guys don't want to answer this question.
I had to look up the definition of technical debt. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it's a software development
Very
term.
familiar with technical debt.
Yeah, I'd never heard of the word. So what do you guys think?
I'm in so much technical debt right now across all my projects.
That's okay.
Yeah,
So you can't hate on somebody else if they're creating it.
It just happened, right?
Although we did just introduce an idea of technical credits earlier, though, which was really neat. So like, which it was just a joke at first, but then we started using it because it was perfect. But it, you know, like where you you build something, you kind of like refactor something or build something new, but it enables you to do a lot more things after that. You know, like simplifying things so that they're more extensible and things like that can give, it's like a tech credit, so you don't have to like worry. Yeah, you're not just like accumulating debt by just building a bunch of crap without direction, you know, like but yeah, tech debt,
Yeah.
real thing. Everybody deals with tech debt.
Have you, Nick, perused the Chainlink code base?
Yeah, I mean, probably not in the past year or so. So I don't know what it looks like currently, but No, so I think like that Chainlink's biggest issue right now is, like what they originally proposed in like 2017 is very different than what is live. And, I don't know if many people know what is going to ultimately be live. So it makes it really tough to like sort of critique their system. I would say a lot of projects that are currently using Chainlink or any centralized oracles, they would be in technical debt.
Yes.
Because if you're relying on, a lot of times what happens is these projects who are running a stable coin or a derivatives protocol, they say like we need 30-second minute updates on our oracle. Like it needs to be that fast because it's so we can liquidate people. That way we can make sure that the prices are current. And it just it doesn't work with current Ethereum. It's too expensive, and it's just dealing with finality issues. Having any sort of finality in your oracle that fast is just crazy hard, and it's a tech problem that isn't solved. So if you're building that assumption that you have one or are going to have one anytime soon, you're sort of building in a lot of issues.
You could even call it decentralization debt.
Yeah.
A lot of these projects.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Deep,
Yeah, so that you like sort of paper over some factor of decentralization. You see a lot of projects with, you'll see like, well, when ETH scales, it works, or when, when something else happens, then we'll be decentralized, or when a decentralized oracle comes along, and it's like, well, you mean when a decentralized oracle comes along that is plug and play with your design, and it just doesn't work that way. So yeah, that's gonna be, I think you'll see a lot of projects kind of hitting the wall there. So anyway.
All right, so we have 5 minutes and about 10 questions left. I might skip a couple. What do we want to say about blocks route integration? Someone asked if that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking into it, and I think usually it would just be for kind of gas reductions in miners. Yeah, we're talking with them on what that would look like. So,
yeah, this was kind of parlayed from a previous question. You started to go into something similar. Is Vitalik pro leadership or anti leadership, and does Ethereum have a leadership vacuum?
Ooh, yeah. You guys want to touch it?
What? Wait, no, you guys got to do the Tellor one, right?
We're centralized basically in terms of our team. It's just the 3 of us. We don't. If we were as big as, eventually we'd like to be as big sort of decentralized organization where we're not really making the decisions from a central singular party or singular group.
Yeah, I mean,
when you're so small, it doesn't really matter, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
you kind of want to be more nimble and decisive when you're small.
If you guys are like a high trust group, then it's not a problem. You don't really have to decentralize governance too much. It's just like when you start working with internet strangers, you need DAOs.
Well, that's what I would say, even for like Raid Guild as it gets bigger, like, what you want whenever a project's really young, you're still trying to find that like product market fit. You want to sort of be flexible and be able to move around with what you're doing. And then as you start getting some users and some things, you want to maybe add in some, say, on-chain governance. You want to make it, you can still upgrade and you're flexible as you're developing. But then I'd say like once you get to be like Bitcoin or Ethereum size, then like any upgrades or major changes, like it's like a hard fork and it's a giant deal. Like it becomes more and more of this rock solid foundation as you get bigger and more used. And I think that's the way that you want to go.
But do you need these figurehead leaders that have much greater than average influence on the direction of the protocol or the network?
No.
One thing that I've been thinking about, because that's like a thing that gets talked about all the time, is like, are leaders necessary? I guess that was kind of like the basis of this question too. Right? And like, I mean, I think like, well, so we're starting to experiment with this idea of like councils. So like, you can imagine there being like a centralized leadership council, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like one person, because one person is just like always an enormous single point of failure, no matter what you're trying to do. So like even just like decentralizing that top level power into just like, you know, a group of like 5 or 10 people or something, at least like all, it's like a diverse thought, like it's like a diversity of thought going into one decision, you know.
Like a group of elders that the community goes to
Right.
have discussion and get feedback.
And that's like an amorphous, you know, like
Yes.
people go in and out of that all the time, depending on like their, yeah, whatever the community is. Like the community can just vote whoever they want into that little council or whatever. So that the community does have that like hyper fast decision maker. You know, if the community thinks they need that, then they can put it there and have control over it as a community, and then it's fine. Yeah, I don't see any problem with that at all.
But I mean, I guess you could even push it out even into more of like a psychology question, you know, do people naturally want leaders in the space? You know, like it's a lot of times what I've noticed is most people, especially when it comes to these topics that are really technical and they don't understand, the vast majority of the users and people don't understand it. They almost want someone to tell them what to do, you know, and like you're just sort of willing to follow blindly, and you follow figureheads, you know. You know, like I think you saw a few, like the Bitcoin hard fork, you know, the Bitcoin Cash fork away. So, you know, figureheads were basically the only people fighting that mattered. It was this giant battle, and then even like more recently in Ethereum, like the Prog POW debate, you know, it was one of those things that somebody actually had to get it done, and they put forward the proposal, and like almost nobody said anything until it was like almost passed, you know, or like it's just about to get passed, and somebody's like, hey, wait a minute, like, do we like this? You know, and it's like,
yeah, and they're like, we really need to talk about this as a community, right? And then that kind of went on for like months.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's always tough, I guess you could say, because, you know, even in Ethereum land, like there's definitely the figureheads that hold a lot of influence over the space,
Right.
good or bad.
But at the same time, you can build whatever products we want on Ethereum, however we want. You know, so yeah, there's something there, I guess. Like as long as like everybody has the power to self-initiate and do whatever is really important.
Well, that's what, yeah. I mean, I talk about it a lot. Like I love hard forks. I love like splitting of communities, just because like I think the more you split communities and the smaller you get them, then like the more coherent in thought each individual community is.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
you know, like I think one of Ethereum's biggest benefits was that we had the DAO fork early on, and then like you split off a community of people that wasn't cool upgrading on these things, and then, you know, like I almost think you need to do it like every year, where you just like split off on important issues.
Yeah.
Well, that way, like you.
That sounds like a culling.
Well, yeah, because I think one of the biggest issues is if you go, you know, like Bitcoin did like 7 years or something, and there are no really big hard forks or splits, then any big thing, it's like you just have a big problem, because now you're going to lose a whole bunch of money. Like everybody has so much interest in here, and if it's more just like, if it's less like monetary driven and more society driven, and like what you actually want to build on and what your ideals are, then it like almost works better. So.
And it's a natural thing too, right? Like even in the guild, like I hope that we do have a hard fork in the guilds pretty soon even. Like, well, I mean, that would mean that there's like some community members who want to go this way and some who want to go this way, right?
Yeah.
That's like totally fine. That's great. Like, yeah, go fork and do that. Like that's, you came from the guild. We'll probably like support that idea. We probably just don't think that it's right for the guild right now or something. But like whatever, like just fork and go do a different kind of guild. And that's like great. But like that kind of planned obsolescence of, and like not planned obsolescence really, but like, or yeah, just allowing for planning for forks to be open, and it's just a human right, really, right, to like self-organize. And if a lot of other people want to do the same thing, then go and do that same thing, you know.
Did you guys see Sebastian's comment in the chat? He says,
yeah.
He says, the notion of self-sustainable open ecosystem of devs and users can be risky. You guys need to figure out a form of consortium, especially cover governance and IP issues if people develop on the platform and if some parts are open source. those are some interesting thoughts.
Probably a few things in there, really, right?
Yeah, to pick apart. I don't know if you could answer any of that.
Definitely don't disagree with the risky. It's definitely like risky. Everything's risky, and it's balance of risks and rewards for like whatever a community's common goal is, or an ecosystem common goal, right?
Exactly. Choose your adventure.
So I mean, it's I don't know. I feel like I hear that part a lot, and it's like, so it's risky either way. So like it's just like the same decision between like decentralization versus centralization, right? Like it's risky going decentralized in general, but also if you don't go decentralized, then there's a huge risk that you're missing out on all of the emergent activity that can happen from the decentralized community. You're basically just like chopping off your ability to like innovate, like in like an emergent fashion. Like those things can't be predicted, like what comes out, but that's the risky part, right? It's harder to predict what will come out of a decentralized coordination versus a centralized coordination, because it can just be like coordinated by like one group of people or whatever. But so it's harder to predict what will happen, but so maybe that's like the risk, I guess. But I would argue that you're just risking the opposite. Basically, you're just like chopping off your ability to like innovate as much as possible with like through decentralization.
Yep. It's like life in a nutshell.
I mean, you just got to like do it and then see what happens. And then it's usually pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
But bad things do happen, but
just do it. That's a good point to end on and wrap up. Thanks so much, guys, for being on the show.
yeah,
Being on the show.
Crap. It's not a podcast. We used to do a podcast. This really started to feel like one of our
I know,
because
because it was like more of an interview.
it's our weekly show.
Yes.
It works anyway.
Yeah. Super fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Everyone, we will link the price viewer and the dispute center. It's in the chat, but we'll also link it in the comments on the YouTube video. So guys, talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.